there, it's Anna again with Mommy Turns the Page. Everybody's a little bit noisy this afternoon, the chickens and ducks. But I just wanted to take a second to chat about 5 things not to say to your friend who has just left her abusive Christian marriage. For anybody who is trying to walk alongside and support somebody who has been stuck in a toxic marriage and has left, it can be really difficult to know what to say and how to support that friend. It can be hard to figure out, what those right words are. But there are some very common things that people say that are not the right words that you can easily avoid if you know what they are. And here are 5 of them that people who I know who have left difficult marriages have found to be hurtful, even when their friends are trying to be really supportive. First one is, I'm so glad you finally had the strength to leave. You mean this in an encouraging way. You're proud of your friend. You're watching them be strong. They're doing something really hard. What it's easy to hear if you're the exhausted friend who's going through this heart-rending, difficult time, it is so easy to hear, wow, I am so glad you finally ponied up and did the hard right thing. All this time you've been taking the easy road. It belittles the difficulty of the journey that she's already been through, and it belittles the strength that it took to get to this point. You don't mean it that way, but it can be very easy to hear it that way. We don't always know why our friends stay in these difficult, horrendous situations. There can be so many reasons that we don't understand, that maybe we'll never understand. Just one of those to throw out a scenario can be, a lot of women that I know have stayed in truly hellish marriages, miserable situations for their children. They are told by Christian organizations that completely twist and obfuscate the data to make it look like divorce and separation always hurts kids. When you're in a toxic or abusive marriage, divorce and separation actually helps kids. That is what the data says. Science says this is a good thing. But a lot of times Christian organizations try to make us believe that we need to stay in these marriages for the kids. Also, if you can imagine being in a situation where maybe there's not physical abuse of the kids, but it's constant verbal and emotional abuse. Say you've got a child who's nonverbal, for example. If you've got a neurodivergent child, can you imagine being in a situation as a mom where you know you're going to have your children, your precious babies, in the care of this emotionally, verbally abusive man half of the time without you there as a buffer? Talk about strength. You have no idea the amount of strength it may have taken your friend to get through to this point. So when she hears, I'm so glad you were finally strong enough to leave, oof, dagger to the heart. Here's another one. It's a great idea to avoid anything that sounds like saying, I told you so. Things like, I never liked him anyway. You know what? At one point she probably loved him. That's why they got married, Anything along the lines of, I saw this coming. Basically, if it can be construed to sound like, I told you so, now is not the time. It's not helpful. You may want to say this. You can say this to somebody else. Say it to your pillow. Say it to your journal. Now is not the time to say it to your friend. Thing number 3 you shouldn't say to your friend who just left a toxic Christian marriage. You should try couples counseling. First of all, if there is abuse in a marriage, if there is an imbalance of power and she has resorted to feeling that the safe thing she needs to do is to leave this marriage, this is not a situation where couples counseling is a good idea. Couples counseling is not safe for women who are in abusive marriages. Science shows this. All of the data says this again and again and again. Sending a woman to couples counseling, especially biblical couples counseling, it is absolutely notorious for enabling abuse. So often abusers Men who are controlling and abusive of their wives, whether that's financially abusive, sexually abusive, emotionally, physically, verbally abusive. If this is the situation that your friend is dealing with, no, by all means, encourage her to get great counseling of her own, good certified counseling, but don't try to get her to go to couples counseling. That is not safe for your friend. Number 4, I'm praying that God restores your marriage. Oh my goodness, this gets said all the time to women who have left abusive Christian marriages. And you know what this says? What we hear is the highest good is for your marriage to be restored. You know what women need to hear at this point is, I'm praying for you. I am here for you. I want to help. I am on your side. I'm listening to what you have to say. I'm safe. You can tell me anything. If you can't say those things to your friend, then, get with your own heart and really, read some books. I recommend The Life-Saving Divorce by Gretchen Baskerville. That is an amazing one. Why Does He Do That by Lundy Bancroft. If you cannot say to your friend, I'm praying for you, I want you to be safe, I am here for you, without bringing into it your belief that the highest good is for her marriage to be restored, go work on yourself before you try to stand with your friend, because that's not going to help. She needs to know that you're on her side no matter what, that her safety is precious to you, because you know what? Her safety is precious to our God, our Father in heaven. Her safety and her well-being are more important than the institution of her marriage. Please let that be reflected in your words to your friend. She doesn't need to hear that what you think would be the highest good is for her marriage to be restored. She needs to know that you are here with her, because you know what? If he doesn't change, having her marriage get put back together is not going to fix things. Maybe the best thing in this scenario for your friend is to be safely out of that situation. And maybe that's going to be the situation for good. Whether her husband, her ex-partner ever really truly chooses repentance and turns his life around, that's a different story. That is not something that happens overnight. Right now, your friend needs to know that you're here for her no matter what, that your eyes aren't on the elusive prize of a restored marriage, that you are here for her, marriage aside, that her safety, that her children's safety, that their well-being, their spiritual, physical, emotional safety are your top priority, because you know what? They are top priority to God. Thing number 5, not to say to a friend that has just left an abusive Christian marriage, please don't tell her she needs to go to church. Please don't tell her she needs to be in fellowship, because you know what? After surviving years, if your friend has been in a long-term, abusive, toxic, damaging marriage, chances are she has spent years on her knees praying for that marriage to be restored. Chances are she has sought all kinds of biblical help from people in positions of power over her within the church. And church might not be safe. Honestly, you got to hear that. Church might not feel safe to your friend. If it does, that's amazing. I pray that for your friend, that she has a church that truly comes alongside her, sees her as the precious daughter of the King that she is, and walks this road with her and stands alongside her. But please understand and have empathy for her, that she may have been so damaged within the church in the process of trying to bring about healing within her toxic, damaging marriage, that she might need a break. Church might not feel safe to her, and that might take a while. Understanding that and finding ways to be the church to your friends. That's what this whole video is about. Actually, in so many ways, that's what this whole section of my site is about, is being the church to those who are leaving abusive Christian marriages, And sometimes that doesn't look like forcing people to go back to an organization that may have compounded their tragic situation, that may have added insult to injury and abuse to abuse. We need to understand that we don't understand every woman's story and have mercy for that. And so I would really encourage you not to guilt your friend into going back to church anytime soon. One last thing that I would suggest, I don't want to say don't ask your friend, how can I help? Because maybe that's a great question, but sometimes, especially when we've been through trauma and there's so much going on, a woman who's just left her destructive Christian marriage might not even know what kind of help she needs, but it might be easier to answer questions like, hey, where do you buy your groceries? I want to drop off a gift card. What do you need right now? Can I babysit the kids? Can I pick up a load of laundry and do it for you? Could you use some childcare this week? If you're watching this, chances are you have a friend who's been through a lot and you want to be a good friend to her. Kudos to you for that. I am standing with you. If you have other questions, send a line. I really hope that some little piece of this video has been encouraging to you as you encourage your friend. No matter what, she just needs to know that you're there without judgment and that you are there for her no matter what, in every way that she can be honest with you, talk to you, knows where to find you. Don't be offended if days go by where she just does not have it in her to respond to your texts or messages. Doesn't mean that you can't keep showing up in her inbox, because especially when people are emotionally exhausted and have been through trauma, days on end can go by where it's really hard to reach out and make contact. Just let her know that you're there and it's always okay, and that you're always going to be there. All right. Go in peace, my friends. I hope this has been encouraging. Again, my name is Anna. This is Mommy Turns the Page.